minutes, not more. Then we are going to have a discussion. May I please implore the speakers up front? When you are asked questions, please don't represent, because that's what consumes the time. Can we leave here at 2:45? So you will pick the time. I'll sit here with you. The first speaker can come. Thank you. Thank you. Good governance and transparency. The first speaker is ready. Okay.
Do I have to? I can sit and.
You wanna make it so?
I have my gadget in front of me. It's difficult to walk around.
Okay. So
I'm not going to use that. And I'll explain why I don't.
Okay. Okay. Keep us away.
Yes. So much information. After Tshimomola, I'm a researcher of the EFF in Parliament. I'm not an MP. I'm a staff member there. So those who were here yesterday listened to the politics side of illicit financial flow from Floyd and the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance. So I'm not going to repeat the politics. Otherwise, it will not be appropriate. So Floyd covered that one. The reason why I was asked to come and not present but talk is that we have done work between IFDC EFF in the past, and there's been some progress. So partly this is an update. So we must take it as such, an update, and then I'll make a few remarks, and then Johan here, who have interacted and engaged in some of this work and has contributed. So he will deal with some of the technical aspects, and not because I don't want to be here, but we've changed times, I think 3 times now. So I'm going to finish talking and then I'm going to leave. And I'm hoping that there won't be any pertinent questions that I must respond to. But if there are any, we can do them in writing and communicate and engage. So that's number one. So tomorrow there's going to be a gazette from Parliament. So the gazette is going to, I have a draft here which I've shared with you because we're talking about it together. So those who don't have it now, just wait for tomorrow. I'll circulate it to those that I have contact. So the gazette is a notice by a member of Parliament, Floyd. So he's notifying Parliament that he intends to introduce a private member bill. So the name of the private member bill, as a draft now, is anti-tax, anti-avoidance of tax bill. That is the private member bill. And I'm just going to give a brief background to how we've arrived at this point. So as early as 2014, the EFF has raised the issue of illicit financial flow, and we first spoke about the details yesterday. And then when the EFF made a presentation at the Illicit Tax Committee in 2015 July, one of the recommendations which was discussed there intensively was the idea of legislation, whether we have enough legislation or not. And at that time, the consensus was that the legislation is there and sufficient. It's implementation of the legislation. But we went back and looked at it and said, no, even when the legislation is there, it can be made much clearer. The same thing we're doing with the constitutional amendment, and those who agree with it. So it can be made much clearer. And there are elements which are not criminalized, which can be criminalized. And we can look at how we come into a political decision on what is it that we're dealing with when we're talking about tax evasion and avoidance. So the position is that the two are not different. We cannot legislate morality. We need to legislate what is bleeding the tax base revenue, and then that is to make all tax avoidance and evasion illegal as it stands. That is the idea, and that is the purpose of this legislation. And then I personally engaged with Johan and Dick to get some assistance and guidance in terms of technically, if we were to introduce a legislation, where do we start? What are we legislating? And how do we go about it? And the idea is not so much to come out now with a perfect conceptualization of what is it that we want to introduce. The idea is to say, given how the Fifth Parliament has worked in the last 4 years, we can continue to talk about problems, which we understand fully in some instances. Like this case, I listened to case studies that were presented yesterday, and you get an understanding that there's a full comprehension of what is the problem. But we're not moving towards tangible solutions which we can change as we go forward. We should continue to have conversations. So in that interaction with the three of us, we then agreed that let's look at a conceptualization which will encourage the formal legislative process to sit and then consider seriously what laws must be put in place to deal with illicit financial flow, profit shifting, and base erosion. That's how it came about. So the idea with the Gazette will also see that the objectives are very high level. They don't intend to capture everything, but it's a start. So it says that we want to improve the legal tools for SARS that are available now, we want to improve them, and then we want to compel SARS to intervene against aggressive tax avoidance schemes. That's number one. Number two, we want to legislate a much clearer definition of what are we talking about when we talk about tax evasion and avoidance. And in that process, we want to criminalize tax avoidance. Politically, that's what we're saying. Legally, we can discuss it. And then we have the third point, which is to say they want to introduce a strong penalty regime for companies that participate in aggressive tax avoidance. And then the last one is to repeal sections in the Income Tax Act, which now currently as it is criminalize aggressive avoidance, but we want to make it much stronger, consolidated legislation and put it in one place. So this is where the notice is going. And then hopefully all of us, trade unions, civil society, and those that are experts in the field, in the next 30 days, will then write formally submission to Parliament. These submissions don't go to the EFF, they go to the Speaker of Parliament. So when they go to the Speaker of Parliament, the committee will then sit and look at what has been the comments from general society, and that will guide a process which will then allow for some sense of development of a legislation which is coherent and can begin to tackle some of the issues. And I'm made aware by people who engage all the time to say that but there are already existing legislation. This might also be an opportunity to review those legislation and see if we can consolidate, strengthen, and maybe put into one piece of legislation which can assist in taking the matter forward. But most importantly, I think it's worth noting that once you introduce a bill in Parliament, as much as it will name a member who introduced it, it becomes a collective responsibility, not only of Parliament, but of society in general, to make input in it so that if we come to a point where this attempt of putting a legislation is not successful, it must not be seen as a party effort, but it must be a collective effort by the whole of Parliament, particularly the Committee in Finance, and also the external stakeholders, civil society, trade union, and those in academia who are writing a lot about how we can do these financial flows. So I'm not going to deal with the technicalities of the Income Act now, because you will speak to that. I was told to come and just give a brief background of where we're coming from, and ideally where we should go collectively try to put a legislation together. And I think I've covered my 5 minutes. I was sure.
Thank you so much. So without any waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to speak to some of the background of how we get this process and where it fits within South African democracy and how we can use it as a platform to take all of the ideas and issues that have been canvassed over the last 2 days and make it a platform for shifting South African legislation, and as a public and political platform to start getting these issues considered seriously across the continent, because South Africa often can be a springboard for these types of discussions. And I just wanted to start by saying, wow, the fact that we're even having a private member's bill is politically significant and comes out of contestation. Specifically on this issue, comes out of various political parties in parliament always saying we support this, we are opposed to tax avoidance generally, but have managed to avoid taking specific and concrete steps through the parliamentary process. So this window is really important that I personally am grateful to the EFF and Honourable Shivambu for opening it. But it must be seen as something that's not merely tied to the EFF. The issue is one that we can capture effectively. But also the fact that we can even be introducing and considering this bill comes out of a contested process that previously, until the judgment of the Constitutional Court in 2012, the requirement to introduce a member's bill is that you required the consent of Parliament to even initiate the process. That the constitutionality of that was challenged, and in the Constitutional Court weighed, and the Constitutional Court said in the democracy that we envision through the Constitution, we don't see, it says, a mathematical form of democracy where the winner takes all and controls Parliament. We see something that involves something more participatory, that encourages critical debate rather than unilateral decision making, and the right of individuals within Parliament to have their views heard and considered. And that introducing legislation is more than just ceremonial in its significance. The court says that it enables political parties of all spectrum, across the spectrum, to move from just opposing an agenda that's set, but to proposing constructively and involving the entire Parliament and South Africa generally in the consideration of these issues. And says that even when bills don't result in acts of Parliament, this is the type of democracy envisioned by the Constitution, the accountability of people having to consider these issues actively, involving the public and making decisions yes or no. And specifically, I want to get to the role of public participation in this process. Section 59(1) of the Constitution requires Parliament to facilitate public participation in the legislative process. And that has taken a while to understand what that means in this democracy. It's often been seen as a tick box type exercise, but the Constitutional Court has held, and this is in the Doctors for Life judgment, that it's constitutive of the dignity of citizens today to not only have a chance to speak, but also have the assurance that they will be listened to, and that public involvement in a legislative process supports rather than undermines formal democracy. And so that's the context in which we see this draft bill. Because that coming out tomorrow, I hope we can get it circulated to everyone. It opens the door to say, in the next 30 days, you must email Parliament your written representations, and you can, and Gumani makes the point that this is a parliamentary duty and it will be received by Parliament. He's also going to be copied, and we can be then building that record of feedback. So I hope that everyone who's made presentations today at least send your presentation, if not more, into this process where we can then be taking those voices to have them be heard by the Committee on Senate Committee on Finance and considered. These are the voices of stakeholders. Now what do we do? And it becomes then very difficult for Parliament to say, well, we're not moving forward. And Parliament as an institutional body. So sending that feedback, and then the test for public participation, the Constitutional Court tells us, is one of reasonableness. What is the scale of the impact? Who are the voices who are the people who are going to be impacted? So the process going out of these comments towards a bill and towards taking the participation process on the road to people who are directly affected will be directly determined by the type of feedback that's received. And just in 2 minutes, I just wanted to come in with a couple of experiences. I'm a lawyer. I've looked at this from more from a procedural perspective and some of the technical work, but out of our litigation, what we see, particularly in the mining sector, makes me very excited about having the opportunity to comment on this draft bill and also to put pressure on Parliament to be going to communities who are directly affected. And that comes out of, as most of you would know, to obtain a mining right, a company needs to have a 26% black shareholding in South Africa. Often, that shareholding invests in host communities. But what happens is this multinational company that wants to tick the box of mine sets up its own institutions that will then be its black economic empowerment partners. So it sets up trusts on behalf of communities that are vaguely defined, workers, women, entrepreneurs. And in effect, those entities do not have the power to contribute meaningfully in the interest of their constituents. And so we see significant gaps in terms of capacity, but also information, with companies being able to pick their minority shareholder partners and establish the fabric of those partners in such a way that prevents them from having any meaningful voice. An example of Oroveni, which is very low-hanging fruit, the Black Empowerment Company that will hold the shares, its shareholders are 9 community trusts. One deals with sewing, one deals with agriculture. None have defined beneficiaries. So for someone to say the community holds shares, no, in no meaningful way does that actually vest. And so then looking for solutions. Another example is a case where whistleblowers approached us with mine in Limpopo that the majority shareholder has been engaged in very aggressive transfer pricing through offshore companies that are receiving the profit is being transferred directly to them through complex transactions. And when that company has set up its own, it effectively creates its black partner and defines exactly how it's governed. It's impossible for that partner to have an insight. So a whistleblower comes to us. We approach that black shareholder. They don't have the capacity, they don't have the will to address it. So as a third party, our under the existing legislation and being able to have this public participation process, we look forward to sharing in broad terms these experiences, but also demanding that the committee go to these communities that should be receiving immense wealth through their shareholding and saying, are you getting it? Why not? And asking those questions in a meaningful way to lead to solutions that ultimately manifest in an act that provides for more robust public enforcement, but also provides avenues for private enforcement. That's something we look forward to very much. So that's briefly my comment, and thank you again to Gumani and the EFF for opening this window for all of us to participate, whatever we think of the party, on this issue and hold Parliament accountable to hear the voices of people on the issue, on such a significant issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johan, and thank you, Gumani. I think we can give them a better round of applause. Thank you. Without wasting time, where is David Darwin?
Yeah.
Yes, over to you. So you effectively are going to answer any questions that are directed at you.
That I can.
Oh. Hello, everybody. I've enjoyed this. I've learned a lot. Thank you to everyone who's participated, the speakers. Thank you. Thank you for all the questions that have been asked. I've done a bit of work in this area in Zambia.
Can we all hear at the back?
I hope so. What role can unions play? Let me ask, who's directly linked to unions? Who works in a union? Okay, good. You've got a lot of legislation on your side to get information as a unionist, and it can be used enormously powerful if you are a representative union. I'm an auditor. I've been an auditor of unions for about almost 20, 30 years. I'm old, okay, as well as NGOs. But if you're looking at the Labour Relations Act, go to section 16. And if you are a representative trade union, you can request from the employer any information that you need to support you in collective bargaining. Okay. I want people to think big. I want you to think about collective bargaining in terms of bargaining councils. A lot of employees belong to bargaining councils, so all you have to do is before the wage negotiations start, you say we need to prepare all the employers who request their financial statements. But create a stir and give them a chance to look deep inside themselves. But that's a powerful element, I think, to get your financial information when you're starting. If you come across a company that you know is cooking the books in terms of overseas companies and things like that, it would be what you need to do is have a representative trade union. Can't go in and ask for it nicely, obviously, but you've got to have a representative union. They can do it. If any employer refuses, it can go to the CCMA. You'll have a lot of talk about the information not being relevant, alternatively being confidential. You can get over that. It's very easy. In the same way as companies get over all the provisions that happen in the tax legislation, etc., you can, I think, creatively get over their objections to get the information through. If you were also, we were talking about SARS and the new disclosure that's coming in terms of multinationals. I accept you're not going to get it because of confidentiality, but I think if you're aware of a company that is cooking the books, that has got links to other companies, there's nothing to stop you writing to SARS and asking them, have they received a return as required by the Act, Tax Administration Act? Has it been submitted? Has it been submitted? Yes or no? Right. You can give that a shot. Also, CIPSI is now, you know CIPSI, sorry, the Commission for Intellectual Property and something company. They've got to get annual financial statements. Okay? Start. They've got to get them. And I believe you can apply for them. Anyone can apply for a copy of these financials. I'm doing the first test for a big private company. Let's see if it comes through. I know that we did a trust with the trust that was holding a wine cooperative. We tried to get details of the trust's financials, and CIPSI just went quiet. So you've got that big level of inefficiency that state bureaucracies deal with, and they just ignore it. Okay? But don't be shy to go for that and to fight. And I think the biggest auditors now got to, after the KPMG fiasco, there's a big requirement on auditors to be aware of non-compliance with laws and regulations. It's called no-cla. Okay? And if you're aware as an auditor of any funny business going on, you're compelled to discuss it with the management. And if it still continues, i.e. if they don't change it and fix it fast, you've got to report it to IRBA, which is the regulatory board for auditors, who will take it further. Okay? So you must know things are getting a lot tighter. But for unions, the biggest thing is to cooperate. In as much as this conference is a wonderful vehicle for cooperation, we've got to put ourselves in touch with different organizations. We've got to do that overseas research for overseas companies. We can't do it on our own, even as a single trade union. But let's, even as a federation, we can't. Let's cooperate and work together. Let us be for how we go forward.
Thank you very much. How are we doing with our time? We have 6 minutes left, so I'm going to make sure we are all back in the room. So can we all stand? Before we go to question and answer, can we all stand? We are very few, so it's not supposed to take more than 5 minutes, but we shall see how quick you people think. So you will sit down only if you give us the capital of one of the countries of Africa. So we start here. Shout it out, sit. If you are still thinking, we skip. No, stand. South Africa is not a capital. Okay, let's see. Dar es Salaam. Vendu. No, you're not talking to me. Shout them out, guys. Out and have fun. What's wrong with these others? Maputo. Nairobi. Pretoria. Cape Town is not a capital. Dakar.
Kinshasa.
Accra, Kinshasa, Entebbe, Ouagadougou, Cairo,
Victoria. Where's Asia?
Victoria, Seychelles. I'm also not sure. Is that the capital Seychelles? We are
Victoria is the capital of Seychelles. I can confirm.
Wow.
Lagos. They moved it. So stay.
Sorry, Abuja, sorry.
We'll come back. Stand. Luanda. Bujumbura. Harare. Harare was mentioned. Okay. Accra was mentioned. Yes. Yes. We see how much we know. Antananarivo. And what did you sit?
Mogadishu.
Mogadishu. Freetown. Gaborone, yes. Lomé, okay. Port Novo. Okay. That was mentioned. Was Lusaka mentioned?
No, what's it? But it's okay.
Someone said it.
I think there's two windows.
So, which one? Nairobi was mentioned. Yeah, we can take it on. Okay. That was nice. Okay. And we are now at question and answer session. So this is how we are going to play it because the presenters then take long and then we come back to. So we are going to take all the questions. Please note so that when you respond to all of them. So let's see how many hands are there. Comment, question, addition. I see a hand at the back. 2. I'm gonna give you numbers. So that's 1, 2, 3. Any other? 4. You're not gonna be sneaking hands at the end. Now or never. 5. Okay. Going.
For safety reasons.
6. Okay, let's go. Question 1 or comment 1.
No, thanks. I'm not sure, but I thought that maybe as we are kind of wrapping up, it's interesting to hear to how we think that we want to take the campaign forward. Because it's going to be very pushy. The EFF is saying that they started this in 2015, they've done some work with the IETC. So it begins to creep to sound as if, okay, this is the EFF that have pushed the IETC today to get such a conference over here because the EFF agrees and all of that. But I think that it's good to say it in a conference, but it comes like that outside, we mostly keep out because of the partisan and the logos that would be taking a center stage other than a critical issue that we ought to do. I'm just sensitizing around.
Okay, that's actually not for the speakers because the AIT will close. So I parked that question with you next.
Yeah, that's a comment. So the other one, I think, Mr.
Johan?
The labor relations.
Talking to Johan?
Yeah, the biggest problem is
or to David.
Yeah.
Okay.
The biggest problem with the labor relations is just that one word, that representative. This is what we must grapple with as when we begin the campaign. As how are we assisting? Because that's what we've been all these days raising. How are we going to deal with that? Because I'm saying, for instance, in the mining sector in London, before the Marikana happened, the Marikana massacre, the critical point was that workers were there, none of the trade unions were at that particular time recognized. Unions were unable to work together. How moving? And I'm saying there's a lot of smaller companies in terms of the trade union representative, while there's a big, huge amount of money were going out from that level. For instance, very soon you can find in ESCOM, none of the union will be actually sufficient representative because of now the divisions that are happening in the union, and workers are losing actually the trust to the unions. They are no longer joining the unions. The SAE is going to the same thing. The transit came to the same thing. How the few workers, 5 or 3, can be then be able to apply this information to request. But it's not easy even to go to the CNA, because when you go to CCMA, you find some of the lawyers that are used by the companies we shut down that 2 or 3 workers, and after that, workers do not have enough funds to actually approach the labor court and so on. And, so I'm saying everyone knows that there's Section 16, but the wording in Section 16 that represented sufficient representation of the union, it beats us all. And the last one is that any worker, I'm talking the point for any worker that can write to SARS, say that I think my company is dodging tax, and that worker will be dismissed immediately. How? Because the whistleblower thing is actually in South Africa is becoming a problem, because one worker that is dismissing everything, nobody is supporting that one worker. Is not an organization, he doesn't have funds to take his case up to the court and all of that. So the campaign has to look at all of these avenues. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Got it, Nick? David? Okay. Who was number 2?
I just want to ask, maybe I'll direct mine to David, but also the other speakers like Lorenzen, yeah,
Johan.
you can contribute if he's got something to say as well. I've listened to most of the speakers from yesterday until today, and most of what was presented was how IFS how they had waiters who are working in the private sector, and less has been said, if not at all, has been said about workers who are in the public sphere or maybe who are in the municipalities. And I wanted to know how that affects them if they're working for the government or municipalities, how it affects them, and how even they can contribute towards fighting this fight.
Thank you. It was 2. Who was 3? Yes.
I don't know whether I want to ask a question or just make general comments. What interests me more is the criminalization aspect of anti-avoidance measures. And I've been looking at how to approach this issue of illicit financial flows. Because when I was thinking about this, I thought about how it dealt with the issue of organized crime in South Africa. If you look at the prevention of organized crime, that whole legislation, there is no offense which is called organized crime. Which means you cannot charge someone with organized crime and take the case to court. So I was thinking that the concept of organized crime is actually a sociological description of a phenomenon. So that's how we should think about IFF, because I don't think there will be an offense which is called illicit financial flows, because it's a description of a sociological phenomenon. So I was thinking, looking at the prevention of organized crime, that perhaps instead of having these anti-avoidance measures standing alone as a field, perhaps it's important to look at how the prevention of organized crime is structured, and perhaps add these offenses in the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, because in the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, we've got activities which are criminalized, which are activities relating to proceeds of illegal activities, activities relating to money laundering. And here, when you think about illicit financial flows, you can think about activities that constitute those kinds of activities and tabulate them in the prevention of organized crime and cross-reference other tax bills which are not mentioned in the prevention of organized crime, but it references all sorts of different crimes because it criminalizes activities which are not single offenses, but which are offenses which deal with all sorts of different things. Like, for instance, the racketeering offenses. It's not one single offense, but it's a combination of different types of activities which then constitute racketeering. So those who are thinking about criminalization and making proposals, I suggested they look into the Prevention of Organized Crime Act and see if IFs and the activities related to them can be slotted into that legislation, which will then cross-reference other tax offenses, other tax legislations that we have. Yes.
Thank you so much for the comment. I think they got it, but I think Dominic also for AITC. I hope you got the comment going forward because you are the organizers. Number 4.
I think it's me.
Yes, it's you.
Okay, I think mine will go to David, and it also comes from the perspective of the mining affected communities. To say what can be the role of us as communities who are affected by mining, in terms of assisting or working together with trade unions to access those the financial statements and so forth. Because when we look at the social impact, the environmental impact that we have in our communities, then it proves to me now that it's because of the money that's offshore, the IFFs, tax avoidance, and so forth. So is there maybe any possibility that mining affected communities and trade unions forge a working relationship to fight against all this? Yeah.
Thank you. Who was five? Yes, thank you.
So thanks very much for the presentations, and also to the earlier session today. I think we've been really blessed with tremendous presentations and inputs, and I just want to give to both Johan and David a little anecdote about the issue of how access to information is crucial in any anti-tax avoidance act and its effectiveness. You will know that there's a process at the moment where there's a proposed merger between Sibanye and Lonmin. And as part of this process, AMCU asked some of us to assist them with a representation to the Public Investment Corporation, which owns 30% of Lonmin. So our case to the Public Investment Corporation, as a major shareholder in Lonmin, we asked them, look, you're saying that Lonmin has no alternative. It's in a really financial predicament. It needs to merge. That's the only way out. So we asked them, but did you get the financial statements of Lonmin's subsidiaries, which we've been highlighting their role in transfer pricing, in BEPS and so on? And they were a bit ambiguous. And then there's finally the kind of answer to us was, look, actually we can't get this information because it would put us in a position of insider trading. So there's the concern of being in a position of insider trading and then being able to sell and buy shares because you've got information that generally advantages you. Second issue, I think, is in relation to the problem of sensitive competitive information, which companies normally use as a blockage to be in terms of providing full financial statements, etc. David worked with us in the Robertson Winery case, and we battled to get the real meat of the information, which could have shown the intercompany relationships, etc., and even how those companies were actually related. All we knew that there was an overlap of shareholders, but it wasn't apparent that these companies were actually interrelated. So the question of transparency around ownership of companies is quite crucial to this as well.
Okay, thank you. Last question.
Thanks very
Or
much.
comment.
Yeah, my first question would have, but I'm partly covered. My first question was asked by the first speaker in terms of the sufficient relation. I am from the public sector union. We negotiate PSCBC. So I would want to ask from David, where would be our point of departure if we want to apply Labor Relations Section 16 of Labor Relations Act? Then the second question, or in fact the first question would have been gone to EFF. I maybe missed out. She spoke about some of the sections that they would have wanted to repel from the income tax. I just wanted to check that. Which sections were those? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll start with you.
Thank you for the questions. I hope I cover all of them. Firstly, speaking about the situation where workers are not recognized within trade unions, or sorry, not recognized by the employer as the union isn't representative. Um, yeah, just takes us back right to the beginning of unions when it was much easier. You'd have one union that would be organizing in an industry, in an area, and mostly one union, and you'd be able to focus and get going on that. It's an organizational question. You've got to organize as the whole basis of the trade union is that an individual up against the boss has to get crushed. You've got no chance. Really, as an ordinary employee, you'll get squashed. So that's why unions are recognized, that's why they work, that's why they become, should become very powerful in protecting the workers. There are other acts you can use. There's that promotion of access to information. You can give that your best shot. If you're a single employee, alternatively, if you're hooked up with a union through a community organization, that other question, I think it would be good to have two fronts to come at the employer for requests for access to information. That promotion of access is there in order to protect or enable your rights. Okay, so if you're able to articulate what those rights are, why you need the information, the right to adequate housing is one of them for sure. Then you put it through and you keep pushing. What is going to help anyone, any organization in this is publicity. Businesses, capitalists hate bad publicity, not because they care, but because it represents a potential loss of sales, potential loss of profits. There can be boycotts, that kind of stuff, so they don't like it. If we're talking about the public sector, transfer pricing is a difficult issue in that it's really government officials, I think, that participate in transfer pricing, very likely through receiving backhanders and allowing it to go through. You are allowed, though, as you know, if you're a union, you are allowed to have a look at the financial statements that are related to the bargaining. But in terms of transfer pricing, it's a different focus. You know, if you become aware of somebody, let's not say transfer pricing, let's not just talk government, let's talk about the private sector as well as government. If you become aware of anyone who's corrupt, who's allowing, taking bribes or giving bribes, you certainly are allowed to become a whistleblower, and almost certainly you will be fired. I must say that. You're supposed to be protected by the Act, but I don't think anyone's been protected by the Act. You know, the bosses will find one reason or another to get it. But if you feel strongly enough, you may well be able to get it through with the same promotion of access to information. Okay? I hope I've given you some answers.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I think most of the questions weren't to me, so I'll just grab make a couple of points. The first was the comment on the process going forward. I'll leave it to AIDC to speak about the interrelationship between EFF and AIDC, though I think if any of you know Dominic and Brian and Dick, you'll be quite aware that they're not exactly pushovers for anyone. But what I very much want to emphasize with the process going forward with the bill is when this draft bill is gazetted for comment, it's done as part of a parliamentary process and it is owned by Parliament. So Parliament either moving it forward or leaving it, or something between, taking our proposals and amendments and moving it forward. We must hold all the political parties accountable for that, for their buy-in or lack thereof, and the approach that they take. So it moves outside of the realm of the EFF to us holding each the institution as a whole, and then each party that has representatives there. It's up to us to put that pressure on to make this about the issue, and do you want to stop illicit financial flows or not? Particularly where we see parties such as the ANC, perhaps UDM, and others that say we are staunchly against illicit financial flows and we're against white monopoly capital keeping money from the state coffers and from black shareholders' coffers. We need to just hold them accountable for that, not as a partisan issue, but because the issue is so important to the people whose interests we try to represent as civil society or as unions or as activists. So I wanted to say that on the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, I think we can be a bit more precise to either criminalize illicit financial flows or certain very clearly defined acts that advance illicit financial flows. Organized crime as itself, and specifically then use the toolkit that comes with the POCA, the Organized Crime Acts that it provides for. Because organized crime, it is, as you say, sociological in a sense, because it's not the crime itself, it's the method in which various crimes are committed. And so most illicit financial flows are a form of organized crime. It's not an individual. Different people are conducting different parts of the crime once we criminalize it. And we need to have ways of holding each member of each bit of the value chain of illicit financial flow accountable in a criminal sense and through fines. On this synergy, it wasn't to me, but the synergy between mining affected communities and unions is also something that makes me very excited. Often companies like to play workers off of communities to say these communities' demands are so severe, we can't afford them, we're going to have to shed jobs. And if unions and communities can be partnering together to say, hang on, if you weren't shifting all of your profits offshore, you could afford to treat all of us like decent human beings, and also begin to ask those types of questions. And then I think Brian's comment really stands alone, and just wanted to echo it to say that information on the entire shareholding structure, including and especially offshore, is vital, and being able to say as big as Dr. Forstland always says, you need to see the financial statements of each entity within the corporate structure to fully understand, to actually have an informed view on what's possible and what's not possible. Information is key, and that's why I'm quite keen to, with the draft legislative process, to push for avenues for private actors, such as unions, and hopefully not just majority unions any longer, affected communities, community shareholding entities, to be able to access that type of information. And then the sections to repeal, this is the draft of what hopefully goes out tomorrow. It specifically repeals sections 80A to 80L. The Section 80 of the Income Tax Act are the general anti-avoidance rules that are commonly referred to as. 80A to L are the Honorable Shivambu proposes to repeal, and 80M to 80T propose to amend as necessary. If you know the act, you'll understand that what that means. All right. Thank you very much. I've tried to be brief, Jen.
Thank you, Zen. How are we doing with time?
Very well.
Close to 2:30.
Okay, so that was the last round of questions. I think in just summarizing this session, I want to comment on I'm not sure if it was the first speaker or the second one, that if any worker within a company will blow the whistle and say, I think my company is involved in IFMs, that will be the end of that worker. I suppose there are no safe answers. I chair a network of volunteering MPs. It's called the Africa Parliamentary Network on IFF. They are not sent by their governments or parliaments or political parties. They are in the network because they have elected personally to fight this issue. And there is no guarantee that their political party will not expel them or they won't get into trouble. I am sharing this to say this is a revolution. I have never seen a war that doesn't have stray bullets. It's a revolution. I always say to Africans, we need to really decide what we want. Do we want a reformation or do we want a revolution? Because if you want a revolution, there's going to be sacrificial lambs. I don't know who those lambs are going to be. I know that some of us are those lambs. Because I think as we sit here as CSOs, Tafaso, we haven't even went into another form for me, which is serious base erosion called constituency funding. We are not asking political parties how constituency funding is spent, how much is given, how much is spent, which was my take really with the EFF. And I thank AITC because I think it was nice to be cordial with Floyd because the last time we saw each other 3 years ago, it wasn't this cordial. So I'm glad you brought the cordiality back as adults. We have to be civil. But that's an area we have not even touched. But when I made that demand, did I not know that the EFF will throw me out? I knew. But in my mind, I took a conscious decision. So I want to say to everybody sitting around the room, you belong to an INGO that you are clearly aware is not doing what it says it's doing. It's doing more what is called regime change. It's your duty to be the whistleblower. You're going to be unemployed. Oh, yeah, you will. But this is a revolution, people. And the revolution needs people to sacrifice. I don't think Sankara elected for an aide. I am not sure when he entered the struggle, he had decided I will die young. Or Lumumba, or any of those people. I don't think Steve Biko wanted to die in some cold bed with people speaking Afrikaans around him and no comfort, at the time because we're anti-Africans. So these things happen. I think sometimes we get caught up in forgetting that as CSOs, we are activists and think we are corporate because we go to work and we get paid and we attend conferences. And then in the end, we just forget that, by the way, at the end of the day, what we are doing is advancing a revolution. And there is no way there cannot be straight bullets in a revolution. So I will leave it at that and encourage people that this corporate accountability, this last session, is not going to come unless we have other Sangaras and Bigos. I like Sangara's comment on change. He says, if you really want fundamental change in society, you have to be a madman. A certain element of madness, I think, which is what the EFF has done. Despite all the other weaknesses for me, I commend them for being mad enough. And it is that madness that has brought them where they are. We can't continue maintaining things the status quo way and believing, oh, but there's no other organization but the UN, or there's no one else but the AU, or there's no one else. We need to be mad enough to recreate some of these things and not just keep going on and saying, oh, but there's no other way. There is always a choice in life. My father taught me that, bless his soul. There's always a choice. We need to start implementing those choices if we want to advance ourselves and see us forward. But AIDC, thank you very much for the 2 days. We hope it is the beginning of bigger things. But more so, I have participated in launching the Zimbabwe and the Kenya STB. That's why it's a signature of my email, if you noticed. Can we unite around this and advance the revolution? It's a unifying message because nobody wants to see Africa bleed. We all need to stop it. Thank you so much. I will let
Always a really tough act to follow Dr. Shabalala. But I'll try my best to at least come a close second. So I just would like to make a few closing remarks. Okay. The first thing I really want to start off by saying is thank you to everyone here because everyone has been so generous with their time, with their attention, with their engagement and participation. As the convener or the face of the convening team, because it wasn't just me, it was my colleagues who really supported us and we supported each other in doing this convening, which in fact started on Monday with workshopping these issues with the trade unionists who are in the room, who I also think needs a special a round of applause for being with us on these important issues. When we started the seminar yesterday, we started off with a chart of mind, and I made the comment that it's quite apt because what you're trying to do here is trying to change the balance of forces, taking power away from this transnational and multinational corporations. And I think we can all agree that we are up against it. There's an immense challenge, right? And so given that, I think that the fact that all of us are in this room gives me a glimmer of hope because of the potential of what we can do, the possibilities of being together in this way, in building a counterpower to the power of transnational corporations. I think Johan spoke, he said, I think, enough about the AIDC's relationship with the EFF on this matter. And there's always a tension. And I don't know if you remember yesterday, Dick made a comment saying he's not sure even if the EFF is the vehicle for us, but we have to try. But at the same time, it's not the only one within the structures of the state. We are so pleased that Yunus Karim and Takele Tope from the Portfolio Committee on Finance came, and I think we need to do more work with these comrades because clearly there's an appetite for it. And I think together, Yunus said, we need to be knocking on their doors and holding them to account. And we can't do it dispersed. We need to be able to do it together. Now, I think the AIDC, and I mentioned it last night when we sort of launched this campaign, we really recognize that many of us are already doing work on this. Comrade Ndiki asked, maybe it's a plot by the AIDC and the EFF. It's not a plot, comrade. We recognize the importance of the people in this room, and that's why we asked you to come. And we recognize that's not to rubber stamp something, because in fact, if it's not taken up by the people in the room, then it's actually in vain. Then we should pack up now and call it a day, because we won't be able to actually change the balance of forces. So even though we're doing this work with the EFF on the one hand, on the other hand, we recognize serious limitations if we're not able to build outside of that. And so I think this Stop the Bleeding campaign, many people want to know how are we going to take it forward, how is it going to be concretized. And to tell you the truth, AIDC cannot be left. The answer to that question cannot be left to AIDC. Because in fact, it's going to be determined by us in the room. And that's all the components, so that as I said yesterday, the whole can be greater than the sum of the parts. Otherwise, once again, we can pack our bags and go home. So I think in that regard, this I think, and I hope, is just the beginning of something much bigger than this room. I think this room is the beginning, could be the beginning, the genesis, or something that can really change and tilt the balance of forces in a massive way. So that, I think that's just the first comment I wanted to make. The second comment is in relation to some of the speakers, in fact, all of the speakers. I think we put a lot of pressure on you in relation to time because we tried to cover a lot in this past 2 days. But I think that we all recognize the means of knowledge and experience that you have on these issues. And we're going to have to call on you. We're going to have to tap on you in very big ways. So when we come knocking, please open, please answer, and help us in trying to build a different force. And we know you're coming from places where you can even help us to reach unto others. You know others who can reach them. And so in the next few months, towards the end of the year, we're going to be calling on many of you to talk about how we can concretize this in a really practical ways, in unfolding a much larger campaign going into 2019, which is an election year, and which is a year that we must put immense pressure on political parties who we are not affiliated to say that you need to, it's an absolute must. If you want to address the inequality, the mass unemployment and poverty in South Africa, you have to address this issue. You have to. And we have to say you have to restore SARS. You have to restore its capacity. We know it's going to be a long fight considering how it's been dismantled, and we've heard about it, and we're still hearing about it in relation to the Nugent Commission. But we have to apply this pressure. It's imperative. So I'm calling on you together in this room to help us take this forward. The second big thing is that we will consolidate a report on this past 2 days, so that in speaking with others, you can show them that this is what was discussed, and it will include presentations, or 1 or 2, because it's still going to be developed further, but it will be made available publicly soon enough, I'm guessing. And we will make sure that you have these so that you can take this further in your own work, but also in trying to connect the message to others, because that I think is going to be integral in building a much broader campaign. And then the last point is that this seminar is the second of 3 in this past 2 years. So last year we had one where we looked mostly at the scale and nature. This was an attempt to move beyond that and start plotting ways of looking at curbing illicit financial flows and bets. Even though we weren't able to complete it, we understand it's a step that we've taken. And on the 3rd of December, we will reconvene, and we'll probably invite many of you once again to join us in mapping out this in much more detail. And that will be in conjunction with the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, and will probably be hosted in Cape Town. So please watch that space. And I think I'll leave it there. Amanda.
Let me, as the old man at AIDC, just thank the team of AIDC. I was fortunate to be away and out of the country, and knew that there was an excellent team that could put this excellent seminar and conference together. So I think from Feroza through to Erwin, Kia, and Dominic, and Dick, we should give them a very big hand. And I want to especially also thank those who traveled very far to come here, particularly James and Daniel. Thanks very much. And we've got to draw on a body of knowledge that sits at a global level, and to take this up in all its dimensions, because we're dealing with a global problem, and we can't tackle it simply within the context of South Africa alone. But as everybody has heard, we're making our first steps in that direction. And I think Dominic's absolutely correct in emphasizing the need for all of us to collaborate together. We need auditors, we need lawyers, we need especially trade union and community activists if we're going to win this battle. So comrades and friends, thank you very much. I think we have set a platform on which we can really build something significant. Let's go home.
Yeah.